The Exo Patriot is here, and glorious. Let's run through 10 things to know to help you make the most of it. This is one I think a lot of people weren't expecting when they received a large metal suit with rockets and miniguns attached. But remember, the mech is relatively weak and expendable against the forces you're fighting, just like your Helldiver. This thing isn't designed to take a lot of punishment, and honestly, the fact these charges can take you out pretty easily inside the suit makes some sense to me, but it's thrown a lot of people off. Mechs are usually tough as nuts, but you've got to remember, the entire game is focused on you being expendable and having limited resources. Your Helldivers, you constantly need to find ammo, or being mindful of your stratagems as resources. So your first real tip here is to consider where and when you're calling this in. If you're the last man in the squad, 3 Titans on your ass, and you think now is the time for a mech, I'd think again, unless you've made some real space and can see yourself getting in unscathed. Which brings us to our second tip. If you're bringing this against the bots in higher difficulties, treat it like your diver. Make sure you have cover options. The bots' range attacks can make short work of your mech, and if you call it in while you're standing in an open field, tanks landing either side, one of them will slap the hell out of you, faster than you can scream for liberty. Consider what cover you have. Use it. Treat it like your Helldiver. Mechs are a limited resource, and the last thing you want to do is get yours destroyed 5 seconds into its life. The third tip here is a bonus one, a real sneaky son of a bitch that I don't think is intentional, and perfect after talking about how weak the mechs can be. Your personal shield remains active inside of the mech, and will provide a slight layer of protection as it regens over time. This is largely only useful against the bots in my opinion. It will have some limited use against the bugs, but the bots is where it shines. This shield can block damage and really save you from taking potentially lethal rockets to the face. With so much action on high difficulties, it's worth considering bringing the shield even with the recent nerfs. This is one I could see them patching. It doesn't seem intentional, as the other backpack items like your laser and gun drones don't activate, but for the time being, give it a shot. I found this to be insanely useful, and if your mechs do run out, the shield is still a godsend and quite useful in the reduced capacity. Like Helldivers, mechs can shoot out of the bubble shield stratagem. For me, this isn't quite worth taking just for this purpose, but it could be a bit of fun, and a safe way to call your mech in and hold positions with little cover. I used the bubble shield at first, but didn't find it very useful after that. But, you know, if you want to have some fun, it could be worth a shot. Alright, tip number 4. Let's look at offense. This can be a little hit and miss, as some shots require some real pinpoint accuracy to get the most bang for your buck. When it comes to fighting the bugs, Chargers and Bile Titans are your only real concern. You can step on small bugs to squish and kill them, and unless your team are really getting overwhelmed, I'd largely ignore that. Your mid-sized bugs should all melt to your miniguns, so just keep some slight distance and chew them up. There's been mixed reports on how much damage the mid-sized bugs can do, so best to play it safe. Charges can cause you trouble if they get up close. Your rockets do splash damage, so be mindful about how close an enemy is before shooting. Also consider this splash damage as you're moving around. Remember, the rocket leaves the pod from the left side. A small rock or a tree in its path will explode you. It's happened to me more than once. For charges, I'd recommend a rocket to the leg, breaking its armor, and then minigunning the hell out of it to bring it down. Hey, quick editing note here. When I wrote this script, there hadn't been a patch. Since then, there has been a brief patch, and charges have been nerfed somewhat. You can now kill charges with a single rocket to the head. It's worth noting though, this can be hard to land at times, so it still might be worth shooting them in the leg and hitting them with the minigun, as that's a much easier shot than hitting them on the head, but at that point it's really preference. If a charge is coming straight head on at you, it's often easy to hit the head, otherwise I generally aim for the leg, but you know, you got both options. This saves your valuable rockets. If you miss the leg, you can bring them down with a few more rockets, but this can vary significantly based on where your landing hits, and it doesn't feel great to sink 4 to 5 rockets into a charger when 1 or 2 can do the trick. Similarly for Bile Titans, a couple of well-aimed rockets to the head can bring them down very quickly. However, if you're slightly off the mark, this can quickly turn into 4 to 5 rockets if you're hitting the body. Take your shots carefully, and don't be afraid to get in close rather than wasting shots for long-range glory. Getting a Titan's attention and waiting till it gets in close can really make the difference here. For our other big thick lads on the bug squad, remember to aim for the head of our spitting friends with your minigun. It's tempting to shoot their bulbous backs, but the heads will bring them down efficiently with your miniguns, no rockets needed. Alright, number 5 and onto the bots. I said it before, but use cover. Remember, you can disarm many bots by shooting at their joints, removing limbs, similar to how you can injure and slow bugs. These walkers, for example, can go down if you shoot their waists, saving you precious rockets, but they all take a hell of a beating. Remove their limbs and then keep finding shots with your minigun. You'll make short work of them, leaving you open to handle the main threats, tanks and dreadnoughts. I know that's not what they're called, but tell me this isn't a dreadnought. These I'd just take out with rockets. The big challenge fighting the bots with mechs is that they will take you out almost as quickly as you can take them down, so don't mess around. This is why I suggest cover when you're fighting the automatons. You need to be able to pop out and take measured shots. The bugs, as we all know, are much more forgiving of our efforts to spread managed democracy. In the very games I played against the bots, I question whether the mech is worth it. Often the small Terminator bots with rocket launchers can do serious damage to you in a large firefight, and it can be hard to really nail down where they might be. If you just love patriotism so much that you've got to be inside one of these bad boys, then do your best to keep out of the open. Alright, on to the next tip. This one is to work as a team and use your mech when it's relevant. Having 3 to 4 mechs all walking the battlefield is cool as hell, there's honestly no doubting that, but it's overkill, even on the highest difficulties. And you're pouring resources down the drain, which might be crucial as you push to your last objective or try to extract. It's similar to watching the team throw way too many orbital strikes at a single strong enemy, and then watching as another appears over the horizon and having nothing left to deal with it. Having 1, max 2 mechs out at a time is likely your best bet. A single mech piloted well should have no problem taking out a couple of titans, if not more, as well as the chaff enemies coming at you. Having 4 mechs out at once will likely see rockets and minigun ammo wasted as you fight over kills. A quick 6.5 to this one, don't hesitate to mix damage with your team. Just because a titan has shown up and you're the guy in the mech doesn't mean you have to solo it. If your team have support weapons or stratagems that can do a chunk of damage to the titan, you'll retain rockets for later. Remember, most stratagems have cooldowns over time, and support weapons can be resupplied. Your mech doesn't have that luxury. You only get 2 of them and you cannot resupply it. So consider not just what you can do, but what your team can do in that space, especially if you're playing as a squad. Alright, number 7. I find the Exo Patriot is usually good for a single major objective, or 2 to 3 small ones on higher difficulties as you traverse the map, so consider mixing them in and out if you're playing with a squad. If you're playing solo, I suggest doing your best to work with the team's strengths, or just have fun and burn it all to the ground. On higher difficulties, if you're playing with a skilled team that will split up to hit objectives, it may be worth using more than one at a time, but remember, you'll still need to extract, and the mechs are using a stratagem slot, so you will be down an option on the way if you've burnt them all early. I'd also recommend not dropping your mech as soon as you land. Take some time to survey the land, figure out what your team's doing, so you don't waste your load killing off those initial enemies on match start. Alright, number 8. Something you should have seen if you've used one, but for those that haven't, when your mech is dropped off, the ship that brings it in will actually take shots at enemies in the vicinity, and it does some pretty decent damage. I wouldn't really suggest using this as a damaging ability. Putting your mech at risk for a few pot shots probably isn't the best idea, but if you're planning to bring it in and your team is in a bit of a tough spot, this could give you a little extra boost. Just be mindful about your surroundings on that one. Alright, lucky number 9 is that the rockets can be used to destroy your bug nests, robot factories, and some of the smaller side objectives like the giant spore trees. This shot here is about 350-ish meters, and the rocket flies straight as an arrow. If you spawn on a bug-infested planet with these trees, you may be able to take them out in less than 20 seconds if you can see them all from where you start. As always, you need to aim carefully to take some of these out, but you can make a very quick work of bug nests and factories this way. For those automaton bases, the rockets again fly straight. These towers can make quick work of you, so if you see one at a distance facing the wrong way, a single rocket could bring it down. Alright, and to close this out, this one is more of a reminder than a helpful tip. If you're like me, over level 25, money coming out of your ears, but not enough samples, you should remember that these won't be highlighted while you're inside the mech. If you know what to look for, then you're golden. But if you don't, remember when clearing objectives alone to get out and grab your samples, if you're hungry for them like me. You also won't be able to call in allies or other stratagems without getting out of your mech, so it's good to have communication with the team to keep things moving. And as a final point, be careful where you're standing. Stepping on red barrels or other environmental hazards can quickly take down your mech, and they're a lot harder to see when you're up high. Thanks for checking out this video. If it helped you out, you already know how to throw me a bone. Hit the like button, sub if you want more, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Cheers.